What insane stat lives in your head rent-free?
Neighborhoods that were redlined in the 1900s are today 5 to 12 degrees Fahrenheit hotter in the summertime than their non-redline counterparts.
Did you know Black and Latino neighborhoods in the United States are more likely to be heavily polluted than white neighborhoods? And did you know that that's because of racist housing policy from the 1930s? If you already knew that, great. If you didn't, stay tuned and you'll find out why. A new study published in the journal Environmental Science and Technology Letters just confirmed what people had long suspected, and that is Black and Latino neighborhoods are more polluted than their white counterparts because of how cities were designed, stemming from a racist housing policy. In short, the study found that Black and Latinos breathe in more smog and more air pollution, and it affects 45 million Americans. And because of this dynamic, Black and Latino Americans are at greater risk of worse health outcomes. They're at greater risk of reduced lung function, greater risk of asthma attacks, heart attacks, stroke, and ultimately lower life expectancy. One of the researchers who worked on the study told the Washington Post, if you just look at the number of people that get killed by air pollution, it's arguably the most important environmental health issue in the country. And to get a better understanding of how we got here, it's important to understand what redlining was. Redlining was a federal housing policy that chopped up cities into color-coded districts. And this largely was broken down by race and income. If you were a wealthy, white business person, you would receive preferential treatment and likely end up in one of the better parts of the city. If you were Black or low income, the federal government would not underwrite your mortgage for a good neighborhood. They would put you in one of these red line districts. And it's called redlining because they literally drew red lines around these neighborhoods where they wanted people who fit that mold to go. And this happened all over the country. Atlanta, Baltimore, Cleveland, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Oakland, Brooklyn, Chicago. The list goes on. And you can see exactly how bad the pollution is in these areas from this graphic compiled by the Washington Post. These colors correspond with how city maps were color-coded by federal housing authorities. Green and blue areas were parts of the cities where typically only wealthy white Americans would have their mortgages underwritten by the Federal Housing Authority, and yellow and red were more low-income and Black residents. And just to give you more perspective on how bad this is, take a look at this quote from the feature in the Post today. With nitrogen dioxide, pollution levels were higher in 80% of communities given D grades and lower in 84% of communities given A grades. That trend held regardless of whether a city was as large as Los Angeles or Chicago, or as small as Macon, Georgia, or Albany. And redlining had effects in all aspects of life, even beyond pollution. This was felt mostly in education, and because school funding is in part tied to property taxes, when you're funneling low-income and Black applicants into certain neighborhoods and then tie school funding to their property taxes, when those houses are lower than their white counterparts, they're going to receive lower funding. That led to years of a growing and widening education gap in this country, which led to lower outcomes for Black students. And with state subsidies in education being tied to performance, the white schools benefit from having a leg up. Now, predominantly non-white school districts receive $23 billion less collectively than their white counterparts. And there have been some attempts to try to rectify this. In Biden's Build Back Better bill, there was a specific provision to start to address some of these inequities in different neighborhoods. And one of these proposals was to plant more trees in previously redlined neighborhoods. It seems like a good idea, right? Well, obviously, Fox didn't like it.
Chair from the billionaire, Speaker Nancy Pelosi, pushing party unity on President Biden's massive spending plan. There are big divisions now over the price tag, as well as the bill's priorities. Some of the hidden goodies you should know about, Fox News has found buried in the bill's thousands of pages. For instance, $3 billion for tree planting and so-called tree equity. It's important that the trees feel equal to one another.
But it was also dismissed by the New York Times, which derided it as a niche interest, along with other environmental provisions that would have collectively helped reduce pollution in these areas. And what's so absurd about this is the New York Times is one of the outlets that has previously discussed this. Here's a story they did on how tree inequity in Richmond, Virginia led to hotter temperatures in previously redlined neighborhoods in the summer. So until people start taking this seriously, nothing's really going to be done. Part of that is education, and I would really recommend The Color of Law. It's a great book on the history of redlining in this country. And beyond education, we need progressive politicians in this country to keep fighting for things like the Green New Deal, because time is running out, not just for previously redlined neighborhoods, but for everybody. If we don't start to address the hazardous effects of climate change, we are doomed.